Imagine standing in front of a door you've prayed would open, a door you believed held your future, your breakthrough, your healing, your chance. You knocked, you waited, you cried, you pleaded, and then it didn't open. Have you ever been there where your whole soul was wrapped around one answer, one opportunity, one yes, only to be met with silence, or worse, a loud, resounding no, not just from people, but from life itself? It's as if the universe whispered, "That's not for you." And you were left in the hallway of disappointment, staring at a closed door with no explanation. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman, brilliant, full of dreams, passionate about making a difference. She trained for years to get into a prestigious program. Everyone said she was a sure pick. She aced the interviews, she had the grades, the recommendations, the heart, everything. And then the letter came. "We regret to inform you." She sat in her room that night feeling like her future had been stolen by 2 lines of rejection. "Why not me?" she cried. "I did everything right." But life wasn't denying her, it was redirecting her. Because 2 years later, she would launch a community initiative that would impact thousands. Not because she got accepted, but because she got rejected. What she thought was the end became the beginning. That no became the space where her real assignment was born. You see, sometimes a closed door isn't a punishment, it's protection. Sometimes that denial is a setup for a destiny you never even imagined. And sometimes the greatest triumphs are hidden behind the pain of unanswered prayers. If you've ever been broken by a no, if you're standing in the wreckage of something you believed in, I want to speak directly to you, because buried under that disappointment is something far more powerful than a yes. There's clarity, direction, strength, vision, and most of all, a new path. And maybe the real tragedy is not that the door was closed, but that you didn't realize what it was saving you from. Let's talk about how to turn that tragedy into triumph. Have you ever chased something with every ounce of your being, poured your heart into a sacrifice for it, believed in it like it was already yours, only to watch it slip through your fingers as if it was never meant to be? Maybe it was a job you thought was the breakthrough, a relationship you believed was your future, a dream that once made you leap out of bed in the morning, and then, just like that, it didn't happen. Not because you weren't qualified, not because you didn't care enough, but because something outside your control whispered no. That kind of rejection cuts deep, not just on the surface, but into the very fabric of who you are, because it makes you question yourself. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? You sit in the silence trying to make sense of it, but sometimes no answers come. Just echoes of disappointment and the aching weight of a detour you didn't plan. But what if, just what if, that rejection wasn't the end of your story, but the beginning of a better one? We are trained to see rejection as failure, as a sign that we weren't good enough or smart enough or worthy enough. But often, what looks like failure is just life nudging you in a different direction, one that holds more for you than the path you were so sure about. There's something powerful about people who've been told no and kept going. People who turn their wounds into wisdom. They didn't get the role, the position, the title, the approval, but they found something more valuable: clarity, purpose, a sharper vision. Sometimes it takes being denied what we want to uncover what we truly need. I remember a man who built his identity around a corporate ladder. Every step he climbed, he felt more alive, more validated. he was next in line for a major promotion, a position he had prepared years for. Everyone saw it, everyone said it was his, and then suddenly it wasn't. It went to someone else. No explanation, just a quiet, painful dismissal. He was crushed, not just because he didn't get the role, but because he felt like the years he invested suddenly meant nothing. But what he didn't know was that this rejection would force him to look inwards, to rediscover the parts of himself that got buried in his pursuit of the title. A year later, he launched his own business, one that aligned with his deepest values, one that gave him freedom, fulfillment, and impact far beyond that corner office. He realized he didn't lose the opportunity, he gained himself back. That's what rejection can do. It can strip away what's not meant for you so you can find what is. It can shake you just enough to wake up parts of you that have been asleep. It can be the fire that burns off the distractions and reveals your core. So no, rejection doesn't mean you failed. It means you're being redirected. Life is not closing doors to punish you. It's steering you, sometimes through discomfort, towards something more aligned, more worthy of who you are becoming. And sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is the thing that didn't. Have you ever thanked life for a door that didn't open? It's not something we're taught to do. In fact, most of us curse those doors. We replay the knock, the wait, the moment we realized it wasn't going to open. We call it disappointment, heartbreak, bad luck. We hold on to it like a wound, trying to understand why we weren't let in. But what if that locked door wasn't rejection at all? What if it was protection? It's hard to see it in the moment. In the moment, all you feel is the sting, the loss, the unanswered questions. But life has a strange way of shielding us from battles we weren't built to fight, from people we weren't meant to follow, from paths that look promising but would have drained the very soul out of us. Not everything denied to you was meant to destroy you. Some things were denied to preserve you. There was a young man who wanted one thing in life: to play professionally. He trained harder than anyone, slept with his cleats by his bed. His identity was stitched into his jersey. Every tournament, every season, every breath felt like a step toward his dream. Then, one game, one injury, and just like that, everything changed. Doctors told him he'd never compete again, not at that level. And in that moment, it felt like life had betrayed him. Everything he had built gone, and the door he believed was his destiny slammed shut. He didn't know it then, but the injury that took him off the field would place him behind a mic. Years later, he became a powerful voice, training, mentoring, guiding the next generation of athletes. He didn't get the dream he asked for, but he became the bridge to someone else's. And that purpose, it came through the very door he once hated being locked out of. Not every open door is a blessing. Not every opportunity is meant to be walked through. Some roads will ask you to lose yourself just to keep up. Some people will ask you to shrink so they can feel taller. Some environments will require you to abandon your peace for a paycheck. That's why sometimes the most loving thing life can do for you is to close the door before you ever walk into that storm. But here's the challenge. When the door closes, we don't see what's on the other side. We only see what we think we missed. We don't see the weight we were never meant to carry, the battles we were never meant to fight, the compromise that would have chipped away at our values piece by piece. All we see is, I didn't get it. We don't see that maybe we were being spared from what would have taken more than it gave. You have no idea how many accidents you've avoided simply because life whispered no. How many betrayals you dodged. How many breakdowns you were kept from. And yes, how many silent tears were never cried. Because something in your path chose to protect you, even when it looked like rejection. You don't need to chase every door. You just need to trust that the ones that don't open didn't open for a reason. Not because you weren't good enough, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because that wasn't your door. And real peace comes not just from walking through the right doors, but from not forcing your way through the wrong ones. Sometimes the door that shuts hardest is the one that saves you most. There's a strange kind of beauty hidden inside pain, a beauty that doesn't reveal itself immediately, because in the beginning, all you feel is the sting, the ache, the weight of something you believed in falling apart. But if you lean in long enough, quietly enough, something begins to speak beneath the silence. And what it says is simple, but life-changing. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something else. You don't know it at the time, but pain is a seed, a strange, unwelcome seed, one that doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like loss, like failure, like something precious has been taken from you, but deep beneath the surface, that very moment, the one that broke you is planting something. A new perspective, a new strength, a new purpose, and eventually a new path. Sometimes it takes the collapse of what we thought we wanted to uncover what we were actually meant for. There was a woman who dreamed of starting a family. Her whole life revolved around it. She bought the house, saved the money, read the books, prepared her heart. But every doctor visit ended with the same message: it's not happening. Month after month, year after year, her world grew quieter, smaller. She stopped hoping. She stopped planning. She stopped dreaming. The silence felt like cruelty. It felt like the universe was ignoring her. Until one day she saw a notice for volunteer mentors at a local center. She almost didn't go. What could she possibly give when her own heart felt so empty? But she went. One afternoon turned into every weekend. One child turned into dozens. Her pain turned into mentorship, into guidance, into laughter and healing. And one day, one of those kids whispered, "You're the mom I never had." That was the moment everything shifted. She didn't give birth the way she expected, but she brought life and love and legacy into a space she never imagined. Her purpose didn't die in her disappointment. It was born through it. That's the thing about pain. It often carries the seed of your truest assignment. But we miss it when we only look at what was lost instead of what is being formed. We're so focused on what didn't happen that we can't see what's quietly unfolding. When life tells you no, it's not just ending something. It might be beginning something inside you, something raw, something real, something only pain could teach you, like resilience, like empathy, like vision. Sometimes the parts of you that were asleep are only awakened by heartbreak. And that seed, that quiet, invisible seed of purpose planted in the soil of your disappointment, grows roots in silence. You won't always see it at first, but one day you'll wake up and realize that the very thing you thought was going to break you built something in you that could never be taken away. You don't need perfect conditions for purpose to grow. You just need to stop burying your pain and start listening to it. There is a message in it. A message about who you are, about what you carry, about what the world needs from you. So when you face your next no, don't just grieve it, study it. Ask yourself what it's shaping in you, what it's revealing, what it's redirecting. Because hidden in that moment might be the calling you didn't know you had. Sometimes the pain you fear the most is just the wrapping paper for the assignment your life has been waiting to open. It's strange how often we look for purpose in our victories when so many of the world's most powerful journeys began in defeat. You might think your most defining moment will come when you finally get the yes, when the opportunity arrives, when life lines up the way you imagined it would. But in reality, it's not the triumphs that shape us the most. It's the heartbreaks. It's the disappointments. It's the moments when everything we thought we were building suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. Because something happens in the depths of disappointment that doesn't happen anywhere else. You get stripped down, not by choice, but by circumstance. The titles fall off, the plans dissolve, the identity you built around what should have been starts to crack. And there, in that space, bare, uncertain, exposed, you come face to face with who you really are, with what you really carry. And sometimes, for the first time in your life, you meet your true assignment. There was a man who had it all mapped out, brilliant, strategic, respected in his field. He was working toward a vision with absolute focus until one deal went sideways, one miscalculation, one betrayal. The company collapsed. His name was dragged. He lost everything he had spent a decade building. And for the first time in years, he sat in a quiet apartment, not as a leader, not as a boss, but just as a man, wounded, confused, questioning his worth. And yet, in that stillness, something whispered inside him, not with answers, but with clarity. He realized he had spent years building someone else's definition of success, that what he thought was purpose was actually pressure. He hadn't been building his legacy, he had been chasing approval. He started over, not with a business plan, but with truth. He became a coach, not the kind that just teaches systems, but the kind that restores identity. His story became someone else's turning point. His scars became someone else's survival guide. He didn't get back what he lost. He gave birth to something new, something he never would have found if life hadn't torn the first version down. That's the power of disappointment. It clears the stage. It silences the noise. And in that silence, something far more honest begins to rise. See, your greatest assignment rarely shows up when things are going well. It usually knocks on the door of your pain. It rises from your lowest point. It comes from the thing you swore would break you, because that's where the depth is. That's where the weight is. That's where the wisdom is. Think about the things in your life that marked you most. Were they your easy wins? Or the times you had to fight your way out of something no one else saw? The moments where your character was tested, where your resilience was born, where you stopped pretending and finally told yourself the truth. The truth is, purpose doesn't always come dressed in applause. Sometimes it arrives through tears, through closed doors, through a no that felt like the end, but was actually a doorway into the most honest version of yourself. You don't need a platform to make impact. You don't need a title to carry influence. You don't need everything to work out perfectly to walk in your assignment. Sometimes all you need is the courage to stop mourning what didn't happen and start building with what you've got left. Because what you have left after the disappointment, after the silence, after the broken pieces, It's real, it's raw, and it's yours. That's the part of you the world is waiting for. So now you know what looked like rejection wasn't the end. It was redirection. What felt like a dead end was a hidden beginning. And that pain you tried so hard to escape, it wasn't just suffering. It was shaping. You didn't lose yourself in the no. You found yourself in what came after it. You see, life doesn't break you to bury you. It breaks you to build you stronger, wiser, sharper, more aware of who you are and what you carry. Every closed door, every delay, every tear was working silently, fiercely on your behalf. And now it's your time. No more waiting for perfect conditions. No more looking back at what didn't happen. You've survived enough to start moving forward with boldness, with clarity, with fire in your eyes and truth in your heart. The world isn't waiting for someone perfect. It's waiting for someone real, someone like you, who's been through the storm and still chooses to rise. So take the broken pieces, take the unanswered prayers, take the no that nearly crushed you, and build something with it. Build something the world will never forget. Because your triumph was never going to look like everyone else's. It was always going to look like you. Good luck on your journey, and thank you for not giving up. The world needs what you were born to release. Keep going. You're just getting started.